caretaker and the disposition of this property, our schools will be impacted more than any other entity in the county. So just think about that. And so we want to be prepared, and it takes us time to get our machine going to be prepared. So just please keep that in mind as this process moves forward. Consider factors in your decision such as the type and concentration of housing units. Think about how it can change our school system at this end of the county forever. Once it's done, it cannot be undone. So, whoever is responsible for the decision for the type and concentration of housing in this property, got a couple of questions, and you answered a couple in the presentation, so I certainly appreciate that, is the type of housing. And so, what we heard about this in the beginning was mobile homes. I'm just going to say this, and I hope I don't offend anyone when I say it, but you know, in the beginning that's nice, but after some years that starts to decline, and so it becomes a problem. It could be problematic. So we're not in complete objection to a private citizen using their property in a manner in which they see fit. We ask that you strongly consider the impact of your decision we'll have on our school system. Do not look at property and the housing as an investment. Think about how you will partner with this community to engage in a housing project that we can all be proud of. And so moving forward for us, and just from our perspective, from our foxhole, we need to look at the impact for our district and think about the potential increase in student populations at our school and how much money that's going to cost for us and for the developer to be able to make sure that we're ready to receive an increased number of students.
Mr. Hines, could you state your position with the...
Yes, I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Administration.
I just wanted that on record.
Okay. Mr. Hines, I have to ask some questions. So you're saying that perhaps maybe we need to do more studying on this before we make that decision?
No, ma'am, not for us. So how it works for us, we plan out for what we do with our schools, and we use a 5-year facilities work plan. Our facilities director is here with us this evening. And so we plan that out for what we're going to construct. And so there's a process for us if it's a new school, if we're going to add on schools, if we're going to have portables or whatever we need to do. And so it's always a time frame for us to be able to plan and make sure that we can adequately be ready for the first day of school.
So my question to you is that if this goes through, will it give you adequate time to get all this?
Oh, absolutely. So, and from what I understand from the presentation tonight, so once the annexation's done, then there's some other things. So for us, you all would have to do the impact study with us, the concurrency piece with us, to be able to come and see what the impact is going to be for the school district. So if we need more school buses, need more teachers, need more school desks, need more portables, all of those things that we can do as we start to get information that we can feed and be able to prepare for that.
But right now you're struggling right now to find teachers and school bus drivers and...
So if anybody in here wants to drive a bus, please let me know. So it's a struggle across the state, and so what we want to do, and so let's go ahead and have a little straight talk. We can get people in. Here's our problem. Our problem is we don't have adequate housing for them to live in. Okay? So they're living in Lake City, driving here. And so we can recruit and get people in, and so what we focused our efforts on is growing our own. Those students who graduate from Branford High and Swanee High School to get into teacher cadet programs, or for those students to be able to go and get that college degree to come back here and to be teachers.
Question.
Yes, sir.
For as our school ranking, whether we're 5A, 6A, or 3A, isn't that based on the number of students?
Yes, sir.
So as we increase the population, the school increase, the school moves from, what are we now, 2A or 3A?
So don't get me to telling it like, because I'm thinking we're 3A.
Okay.
And so we always kind of teeter on the edge of from one to the other.
Right. So it's based on population.
Yes, sir.
That the way the school grew.
So right now we're at about 6,300 students in Branford and up in Live Oak. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Melissa, Matt, Francesca.
Hi there. This is all rainbows and butterflies over here, and The issue is the reality of all of this, and my dad was best friends with Lundy, Russell Mapp. And the issue is we're not thinking about all the things that this is gonna pile on and pile on and pile on and pile on. It's like, this guy came in here the first day with flip-flops and a t-shirt on. He realized that didn't go, so now the chameleon is changing its colors. So think about that, and think about how horrible the traffic is. It really is. And I am housed at the bus barn, and yes, we need more bus drivers. Yes, we need more teachers, new teachers. People from Lake City drive over here because they make over $6,000 more. They like living in Lake City because you can go shopping over there and it's not a dollar store. So the issue is we do pay way better than Columbia County. We are a great county. I grew up here and graduated from here. But the issue is that this is not the place for this. And it will impact the schools, and it will impact all the driving, and they're going to exit. The new thing I've heard, which is always changing, is they're going to exit off onto Walker. We already know how Walker is. This is just a bad idea all the way around for right now. And if you want to build extra roads on Bass and Walker, maybe it's a better idea. But right now, it's a bad idea. Thank you.
Okay, Moses Clipper.
Moses Klepper, 14581 100 Path, Live Oak. Several things has been touched on that I was thinking about, and I already expressed quite a bit last time I was here, but the comprehensive plan, the master plan, Ms. Owens was referring to, I believe, I think that's paramount. I think going into this, just hot shotting one thing with a high density like y'all think about, I think that's just setting up like a lot of people already addressed. I think that's gonna just create more problems than solutions. Again, and I keep saying the lady just talked about, I'm more saying it, but orthopedic reason. That's the point that I like to focus on too. First red flag I had before I ever come up here was that I heard 500 trailers going in, our mobile homes. Well, that ain't what I want to see. The gentleman very well said, no offense, I don't mean no offense either, but the first purchaser of a new mobile home usually keeps it up, everything's good, but the second or third, I don't want my kids or grandkids or nobody around it or my neighborhood, you know? So that's just a fact. I don't think you could argue that. But so they switched from there, and then they went to 350,000 average on quarter acre average site on every quarter acre. Now I'm hearing we're talking more like 250 and on 1/3 acres. All right, that sounds better, but I'm sort of like Mr. Adams said. You know, this is kind of like proxy. Y'all go with this tonight. How y'all gonna stop them from doing what they want? I mean, okay, they're telling y'all they got the fire, but if the property's $2 million, $3 million, whatever, they invest that much money, y'all really gonna say no? We're not gonna do what y'all want to do when y'all got all that money invested. Y'all gonna require them because y'all won't want to go with what their ideas really are, and then how are y'all gonna hold those landowners up from doing what they want with their property? You know, again, at 350 on a 15-year mortgage, that's $3,700 a month. That ain't for the locals around here. On a 30-year mortgage, that's $3,100. That's still ain't. All right. On a 250 mortgage, that's a $2,300 a month mortgage. That's for some, but it ain't for them bus drivers. I guarantee you. You know. So I'm not opposed to growth either. It was said much better than I could say it. The responsible growth, letting it happen organically, like the gentleman said, as it comes. That high density is a mistake. One property per acre is a great idea. Let it start there. Thank you.
Mr. President,
That's
Mr. President, Mr. Curtis, I'm from the comprehensive plan, land development regulation, and all that. Folks are talking about folks can do what they want to do with their property. please explain about land development direction and.
Sure. George Curtis, land of the city. When a property is brought into the city limits during an annexation, it does not yet have an assigned land use under the city's comprehensive plan. So the requirement is then that the applicant has to apply for the type of land use that would support the type of development they want to do. If they want to do a commercial frontage in certain areas, then it would be a commercial land use. If they wanted to do a residential development, they have to pick and draw out basically on a survey or a master plan where the densities would go. And our definition in our comprehensive plan of high density is 20 units per acre, which would be around 2,800 homes based on 140 acres. So it's not high density under the city's plan. If you're doing 3 or 4 homes per acre, that's a moderate to low density in our plan. So I know the county and the city is a little different because the county requires 5 acres in a lot of areas per home, and then there's some closer areas to the city that would be 1 acre. So the council will have the say after annexation, should it be annexed, to decide what kind of land use they would approve based on the applicant's request and analysis and discussion. And then along with that land use comes the zoning that's consistent with it. So the land use and zoning are looked at generally at the same time, and you look at, so this land use coincides or is consistent with this zoning, and so that goes through a public hearing process. And then you have subdivision platting where it shows, where new roads are going to go, where lot lines are going to go and whatnot. And then, and then you have infrastructure that the developer puts in to support the lots or the homes, and then that's the process. And then the plat, which would be the final kind of layout of the lots and the infrastructure and all that, even after it's been approved by the council and it's been installed, then it has to come back before the council for a final approval in order for that plat to be filed with the clerk of the court, so that they can start selling lots at that point. And we do have school concurrency in our comprehensive plan. That's where the developer has to make application through the school board to reserve the number of student stations that potentially would be generated according to the number of homes. And that's usually decided based on the subdivision plat or the density and the type of homes that are being proposed, and the school board uses that information to determine what the impacts would be to student stations for their 5-year planning period. So it is a lot of steps. This is the first of many steps, I guess, that the council would be involved in as far as that goes.
So they just can't, the developer just can't do what he want to do with that property,
Right.
correct?
Right.
So that's why we have comprehensive plan, land development direction plans, all that stuff is in place. That's been going on for X number of years. So just things popping up like that, and then you're talking about the process. This is not an overnight process. It's going to be, that might take a couple of years. I've watched down 129 Deer Creek out subdivision out there for about 10 years. All they put up was a brick wall to saying this is Deer Creek community. It took them just a few years ago in order to start putting in houses.
Right.
And they range from $200,000 to $400,000, the most expensive house out there. I thought about buying one, but there's a process. And I've sat on planning and zoning board. You just can't do what you want to do. The board sets some things. Our comprehensive plan and our land development direction set plans as well, what a person can and cannot do.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Quickly, so if the planning and zoning board makes a recommendation, whatever, and it's a body made up of citizens, can the council override them and say?
Sure, it's a non-binding recommendation. Anytime anything comes before the planning and zoning board that also has to be heard by the council at a subsequent meeting, that is considered a recommendation. And that's actually them serving as the local planning agency, and there's some Florida statute language that talks about the local planning agency. They have other duties that are not land use and zoning related where they are the final say. But in this case, it would be a recommendation by the planning board. And the council could certainly do something different than what the recommendation is.
So at this time, just close public comment.
If you want that, just
Oh, okay, yes.
hand it to rebuttal real quick, and then we can.
And Mr. President, I have a question for you once he just wants a question.
I appreciate everybody's comments. Growth is tough. I mean, I do this all over the state. This is not uncommon to hear concerns that I understand it. You know, I'm from a very similar town. We've had a lot of growth and the same issues have come up there. I live on an acre. I love living on an acre. And I would love to see homes on 1 acre. I could tell you though, doing this all day, every day, that if you want a national developer in here, they need at least 3 homes an acre. And maybe that's not what you want, maybe that won't work, but I'm just telling you so you know. And that's not a high density for a developer at all. It'd be fortunate to get them in here. You know, it's a rural community, and I've sent this property to a number of national developers, and a lot of them say it's just too, what they call green, it's not ready yet. But, you know, if you want the restaurants, if you want to improve the city, again, that's sort of the offset, that would be probably the minimum of any development coming in. And the other part, as far as annexation, doing a whole group at a time, it's property owners that have to do it. So I don't usually see, I've never seen large groups come in at one time unless it's one development. They come in and annex for a specific use for one development. And so over time, that's what would happen if the city allowed it and you know, have more properties come in. And again, they got to go through the process, so it's not a rubber stamp. And just for the record, I didn't come here wearing flip-flops because she wouldn't let me do it if I did. So, but thank you for everybody's comments. I appreciate it.
I forgot my question.
Close the. Okay, we'll close the public comment time. And at this time, we will ask for the wishes of the council, for the recommendations of staff. So this is in the manner of a motion. Second.
Mr. President, I'll motion that we approve
Okay, we have a motion.
1507 ordinance.
We have a motion.
I'm gonna have to second.
And we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Discussion.
Yes.
First of all, thank you very much for all of you for your comments. You know, we're buddy buddies. My first discussion is we're talking about the, and Mrs. Bass was doing integration. She was my teacher, and she was very close to my father, who was J.D. Brown, and she took me up under her wings. She was very close to my family, extremely. She taught me how to do big beans for a picnic. I was in a VIP group. So, yes, I understand back in the days. I'll start off with the growth. You're talking about traffic on Walker Avenue. It's a nightmare. And if you put more traffic on Walker Avenue, a roundabout is one of the most worst things in the world you could have done, especially what I'm considering in the mornings. You have traffic backed up from the roundabout all the way sometimes to 90. Traffic for people trying to get around it, to get around. So what they're started doing now is they're coming through my district, over District 2, off of Goldfish Boulevard. They come down, then they're going to turn on, that's Johnson Boulevard, and then they're going to go down 6th Street. So this is the neighborhood. So remember, everybody has to be working at 8 o'clock, usually 8 o'clock. So what they're doing, zoom, 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 zoom. They've even put up a speed, thank you for the speed zone now, for the speed thing. So they're coming off of Goldfish Boulevard, they're turning over on 8th Street, they stop on 8th Street, then they're going to come down Johnson, they leave Johnson, they're going to go down 6th, all through the neighborhood. All through the neighborhood to get to their jobs, wherever they're going. It's like a madhouse. It's an extreme madhouse. And you know, my 90-year-old mom, she still go across the mailboxes across the street, and I pray every day that she doesn't get hit by a car, you know, when they're zooming down on 8th Street. So she's going to take a lovely time going across there to get her mail. So I have issues with the fact that when you start talking about the traffic on Walker Street, because we try to avoid Walker Street. It's a nightmare. Walker Street is a nightmare. That would be one of the issues that I have, and I've already discussed with you earlier about me and Linda trying to cross over, is that 129 or 51? From off of there, trying to get over where the, if I'm going to the, by the football, so go to middle school. That's a nightmare. By the, what is that, Silas Oaks, over that area? It's a nightmare trying to cross over that area. Traffic is extremely terrible over those areas, you know, it's extremely. Try to drive from 7:45, from 7:30 till 8 o'clock. It's a nightmare. We're talking about growth. I am all for growth. I was born here, was raised here, and love it here. My children are here, my grandkids are here. I love Live Oak. Live Oak is very dear to me. It's very special. I taught school here for numerous of years and years. I worked here. My parents, my father had his business here. He was a machinery plumber. My family was here. My sisters, brothers, they all was in the trucking business. This is our family. We love Live Oak. You know, when you start talking about, Mr. Jeff, don't get offended when I say this. Now, let's talk about housing on acres. I don't know when. Maybe Mr. Curtis can answer this question for me. But in my district, I call it the quarters, the housing that's been put over in my district. You can lie down at night and you can stretch out and be in both houses. That's how close they are. Yes, Mr. Jeff, that's how I feel about it. I call it the quarters. If you don't know what the quarters is, look it up. The houses are so close on Walker Avenue, coming off of Walker Avenue. This is what I was promising the housing, and this is what I got over in my district. You're talking about housing. Yes, we need the housing over there. And this is what I'm concerned about when you start talking about putting in 3-4 housings over, how many of the houses you're going to put over in your district. And we're talking about annexing. So that is a concern of mine when we start talking about, yes, we need affordable housing. But the thing is, we need working affordable housing. Not just affordable housing, because people work. The salaries. You got to think about the salaries people around here. 2 to 3 teachers would have to move in to share the rent, the